Good morning. Today we celebrate our 56th anniversary. All this week will be very special to our CETYS family. We want to greet our special guest, representative of our Board of Trustees, Miguel de Rueda. Welcome to our campus. We thank also our IT Director of CETYS Mexicali, Dr. Marco Peña, for being here. And thank you guests from other institutions, students, faculty, and members of CETYS. This is a week of celebration. Yesterday, we started on our Mexicali campus with Jorge Ramos. Today, we will have a special guest, Dr. Todd Britton. And tomorrow at Tijuana, we will receive the accreditation of WASC. This is a very special week and a very special year for CETYS. Thank you for being here celebrating with us. I will share with you very important information about our guest, Dr. Todd Britton. He is Chief Information Officer, Associate Vice President of Office of Information Technology of Laverne. Senior Executive Skill and Experience in Strategic Planning, Leadership Development, Organizational Leadership, Information Technology, Risk Management, Data Warehousing, Project Management, System Integration, Cloud Services, Enterprise Resource Programs, ERP, Software as a Service, Infrastructure as a Service, Deep Analysis, Troubleshooting, and Technology Governance. Extremely well-versed in both common off-the-shelf COTS and homegrown software package, continually striving to expand experience and value to the enterprise through continued learning, improvement, and learning. Continuing professional goals are to further the value proposition to the enterprise through the appropriate and effective use of technology and application of skills and knowledge. Personal goals are to increase fluency in French and Spanish. Puedes hacerlo aquí. Specialties: engaging with diverse stakeholders, able to generate consensus, able to work with multiple simultaneous priorities and initiatives, program and project management, risk management, information security. He has experience in industry regarding information technology, higher education, banking, finance, and manufacturing. On behalf of our President, Dr. Fernando de Leon, and our Dean of Campus, Jessica Ibarra, we welcome you, and it's all yours. Welcome to Ensenada.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Buenos días a todos. Okay, that's probably all the Spanish you'll say, but I'm very excited to be here, and I definitely will be moving a lot, so if I'm moving too much, you can give me the signal and I can try to stand still. But I'm here to talk to you today about retention and how it's all of our concern and how we can benefit from improving our practices and some strategies that we've used that have helped us, as well as some opportunities for us to continue to improve in that space. So first and foremost, again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak with you on this important topic. It will become even more important as the years go forward. So you've already heard an introduction of me, but what I try to do is engage across the various stakeholders across campus that allow us to better leverage technology in the classroom and for the betterment of our students. So this discussion today is going to apply to all students, but a lot of these things are going to focus on traditional undergraduate or maybe residential students. But we believe even though there are specific departments that are focused on student retention as our primary goal, it's all of our concern, and we need to all work together to ensure their success. And during the course of the exploration of this process around student retention, student success, we started another data governance initiative that's a whole nother area that I could get into that would take me a number of hours. But it was a related outcome that we did not foresee and that we continue to work toward as we get stronger and better in this area. So the University of Laverne, a little bit about us. We were founded in 1891. We're a non-denominational comprehensive university in Southern California, about 35 miles east of Los Angeles proper in the San Gabriel Mountains. And we serve about 8,500 FTE students across multiple campuses, 10 total. But we offer traditional age, graduate, and adult learner opportunities. And we believe as a bellwether institution, we continue to innovate and look for opportunities to do so. So we serve, like I said, 10 campuses as far south as San Diego County and as far north in California as San Luis Obispo County. We have recently started a revitalization of our online presence. So for years, we've had a large number of regional campuses who were leveraging online capabilities. We have since started to take a look at those again and figure out how can we reinvent them, how can we reinvigorate them to make them more meaningful for today's learner. So our mission, part of it, is to provide opportunities for our students to achieve educational goals, but we want them to be global citizens. They need to contribute to the community for which they're in. We're a nationally or federal government of the United States designated Hispanic serving institution. And there's certain parameters about that. But for us, our population as of fall 2016, that meant 45% of our students, all of our students, were Latino. And 50% of our traditional undergraduate students alone were also Latino. Of our traditional age students, about half are first generation college goers, the first in their family to have the opportunity, the educational access to go to university. So that's very important for us to talk about how can we help them be successful. Because as we've learned, there's not a single focus that you can use on every student. It's not going to work. And everybody has their own unique needs. So what are those things that we need to do to pull those out? How do we get that dialogue? How do we continue to develop that relationship? A little bit more about us. We have about 780 full-time faculty and staff, and about 514 adjunct faculty, and again, about 8,500 students. Information technology is small by comparison when we compare ourselves to our peers through EDUCAUSE or others in California. There's 28 total in all of IT, including myself. Couple in management, enterprise applications, there are 8 total. That includes the programmers, the people that are engaging with our student information system, and supporting all of the other connections between and amongst all of our integrated systems. 7 are help desk, people that answer the phone, as well as technicians that physically go out to the desk to help folks. 6 people in networking, telecom, and systems, supporting all of our servers and connectivity. We just received funding for an information security analyst, which we hired. Prior to that, it was kind of splintered across a couple people's job, and that means it was never being done well. 1 business intelligence data analyst, and that is a direct result of this data governance initiative that was kicked off related to finding student success and retention. We did not have enough people or enough expertise to start leveraging the data that we knew we had, but we couldn't get to. We couldn't understand it. We couldn't define it. And then 1 departmental assistant that helps all of us. So today, we use as our student information system Banner. It's an Ellucian product. Many of you here may be familiar with it. We started our journey with Banner Student version 1, way back in 1990, 1991. So at that time, we thought we were innovators. Then after a few years, we went on to financial aid because that became a bigger and bigger part of our way that we could ensure we were serving our students well. Then we added Operational Data Store, or ODS, Enterprise Data Warehouse, EDW, Cognos and Banner Document Management and Workflow, all in 2008. All with an eye and an understanding that we have data that we're not leveraging. We have a way that we can get access to that data, and many of our truths that we believe are true, we just need to validate it through our data specifically. And if we can do that, these are the tools that we thought could help us. Our advancement folks came along in 2011, and most recently we implemented human resources and finance. So we kind of did it backwards. A lot of people start with student maybe, and then HR and finance because those are foundational. We did not. We were special. So we relatively recently moved to Recruiter, now it's called Recruit, for our attracting prospective and suspective students and helping them to become gainful applicants. And then Ellucian Analytics is something that we're starting now, and I'll cover some of it in my presentation, but Ellucian Analytics is the next evolution for us of operational data store and enterprise data warehouse to really dig into our data and gain access to an understanding at a deep level how we need to consume that data. But it also highlighted, as you can imagine, very interesting findings of, people like to call it dirty data. People say that there's something wrong with the data. It's just the way that we've used the system. So we have to figure that out and then determine how can we report off of it, and do we need to make some data changes because of it. We use a number of complementary Ellucian products for things that Ellucian doesn't do. Purchase requisition, purchase orders, creating online forms through eVisions. Residential hall, we have a number of them. In fact, we're in the process of a capital campaign to complete the last part of our new residence and dining hall. We use StarRes to match our students together based upon attributes, based upon the likelihood that they are going to be good together and not fight and cause issues, but also support each other. Are they in the same program? Are they in the same year? Those type of things. We have a program called Maxient for adjudication in case students get in trouble, and parking permits, always a fun topic for us. But the key here is that we support 68 separate and distinct integrations and programs into Banner. So over the years, as much as we want to use Banner as a central repository, something pops up. Oh, somebody else wants to use another program. Somebody else wants to use this. Oh, the Banner doesn't do this. I need this. And so we're constantly innovating, trying to integrate those things together, which makes reporting and the ability to make data-driven decisions from that data difficult, as one can imagine. Am I talking too quickly? I have a tendency to just ramble, so give me the signal. Let's see. We understand the important role that Hispanic serving institutions play in the educational advancement and overall success of our Latino students. And we believe to better serve our students, we must first enroll them and then help them succeed through their entire career with us, whether that's undergraduate all the way to graduate. We believe it's inherent in our educational mission to continually evaluate our student retention practices and make improvements. Okay, so here's the good stuff. Cumulative graduation rate. Within 4 years, we graduate 53% within those 4 years. Within 5, 63, and then within 6, 66. By some standards, that's good. By other standards, that's not so good. As we compare ourselves to our peers, we are quite a bit above the average, certainly for Cal State systems, UC systems. However, that's starting to change. Regardless of whether or not we compare ourselves favorably or unfavorably to our peers, for ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, and we have, is that good enough? It's not. It's not for us. So how can we improve that? To give you an idea, here's just kind of the same amount of data. Freshman is on the left-hand side. In the first year, we lost 15%, which means we retained 85, right? Out of a cohort, we retained 430, and so on. But you can see the trend, right? The trend is sloping downward. So we had to ask ourselves, all right, 65, that's not where we want to be. But also, why does it change so dramatically from year to year? If you compare freshman to senior, how do we lose all of those students? Not only are those dollars because we're a private institution, but where are those students going? Why are they leaving? What could we do better to treat them the way they needed to? Do we understand their needs? Are we just guessing that we know what they need? So that's where we started looking at. I also pulled together some touch points. So on the bottom is freshman, then sophomore, and it goes up based upon year. So that means the very bottom rung, we retained 85% of our freshmen. We have 70 different touch points. So touch points would be things like engagement with a career counselor, getting in touch with clubs and organizations, having student fairs, having other learned individuals coming on campus and talking to students about, this is how I ran my business, this is how I started my business, along the way. But there's definitely a correlation between the number of touch points or engagements with our students and retention. So what can we do? How can we improve that? Of course, we're an academic institution. So what do? We go back to the literature, right? You go back, you look, you understand. Vincent Tinto's seminal work, 1975, around engagement strategies with students. It's all about the importance of integration, both socially and academically, is a strong predictor of student success. Okay, let's see what that means. So I won't go into great detail here, but basically the amount of the student's commitment is directly proportional to the amount of commitment you're making to the student. And how with them, what are the things that we're doing? We understand externally things are happening. How can we insulate our students? How can we protect them? Or with full recognition, things happen. Here are tools to help you succeed so you don't have to think about dropping out. We can help you be better at what you need to do. Another kind of model that Sway, Reed, and Perna did in more recent times had to do with there are societal factors, there are cognitive factors, and there are institutional factors that influence the student's ability to stay, desire to stay, or even thought whether or not they can stay. So it's not an end game. It wasn't, well, I can only stay because my parents are supporting me and I have enough financial aid. It's a pyramid. All those things have interaction together. All right, so some of the key questions we had to answer when we looked at this data and started being immersed and conversant in Tinto's work to say, how can that inform future progress? Why were we having such a precipitous drop from junior to senior year if we only target one? But if looking at that, every year there was a drop. Why? Why are the students leaving? Where are they going? Are they coming back to us? Do we know? How do we even begin to look at something like this? Because it's huge. What can we do better? What do we think we can do better that we know and it's anecdotal? But also, who else on the campus needs to be involved? So we started a task force like we do in academia, right? We identified that we needed to say, we know some things, or we think we know some things about what's right and what's wrong. Let's understand what that looks like. So we pulled together, and just a few of the goals were identifying the key issues and opportunities for us to improve, but also ensure that membership was broad, inclusive across the entire institution. It wasn't always the counselor who was working with 50 students every week, month, whatever. That didn't matter. It was broad. How can we solve this problem holistically? And ensure that we were asking the right questions. And the bottom one sounds very simple, but it really helped us, is checking our assumptions. People who provide student counseling, whether it's a faculty member, staff member, they all have their own preconceived notions of what they see and what they have experienced. Others who are in residential hall or maybe athletics have their own perspectives of what's there. So let's all assume we don't know anything about this. Let's come from a place of tabula rasa, the blank slate. Let's start again and assume nothing so we can learn the most. So we took a three-pronged approach, right? People, data, and strategies, not necessarily in that order. Asked ourselves, do we have the right people involved? Are we using our data to inform us, or are we just, oh, it's in the database, that's nice. Oh, I need some more space. Or are we looking and doing the right things? Are we using the right strategies for the right students at the right times? So here are some of the thoughts. We did a brainstorm session around why we thought our students were moving on. We didn't have enough of the right programs. Our academic retention department wasn't doing enough. Faculty were not engaging with them enough. Academic rigor may be too much to go from general education requirements to program-specific requirements. Students wanted to graduate from a more prestigious university, a USC, a UCLA, a Caltech. Wrong, wrong, wrong. How do we know? So we started with some student forums. We started asking the students. We had a guided conversation with the students in a moderated way to ask them what were their areas of concern, what keeps them up at night. And here are some of the key things, many of which you can guess, but here are some of the crystallized ones. How can we get them and us engaged together consistently? How can we help them, we as staff, administrators, faculty members, help them best succeed in their classes? And to some of them, best succeed was, I just don't want to fail. I just need to get through this class because chemistry is not my thing. Others, I have to get an A. If I don't get an A, I'm not good enough like my sister, or I'm the first in my entire family to go to college, so I have to do more. I have to be the best, right? Helping them define that for them, right? And surprisingly, there was a lot of concern from our students about what they quoted life after undergraduate or after their undergraduate work. Should I go to graduate school? How do I do that? What tests are involved? Is it going to cost me more money? Is there financial aid? Can I afford it? Who's going to help me? Do I have the same classmates? Am I going to have different teachers? Is it going to be the same campus? Do I have to go somewhere else? Does this have to be my job? If I choose this as a graduate program, does this have to be my job forever and ever? I don't know, right? So just providing them opportunities like that, along with job prep, opportunities, orientations, that type of thing. So based upon this, using this as the foundation, we started to figure out what that looks like. Other things that we discovered were, especially our first generation students, they needed more support, but in different ways than others that had family members who've actually gone to college. And what does that mean? So are we using engagement strategies, one size fits all? Every student, this is what they're going to need, and we provide them that and it's not working. Why? Plus, our annual tuition increases, even though we are an institution that self-funds a large percentage of our students' tuition through self-funded dollars. By about the fourth year, senior year, financial aid packaging was such that most of their financial aid had been completely eroded. That means they would almost have to pay for the fourth year 3/4, maybe to 100% their own. That's too expensive. So what can we do there? And then nearing the end of the bachelor's degree, as reflected on the previous slide, they were anxious, they were concerned, they needed guidance, they needed to know, what are my options, what can I do, what's out there, why should I care? And I don't want to end up like, my uncle who has to work 20 hours a day and, to support it. I want to do this, I want to do that, those type of things. This is our annual financial aid that we've awarded. As you can tell, from 2012 to 2016, we've increased about 20% of our own dollars that we've given directly to our students for aid. Again, we try to readjust so it's not just all heavy in freshman and sophomore, because then students realize that they're running out of money and they say, well, I'll go somewhere else, it's cheaper. I want to go back into a different system. But spreading it more judiciously, providing them an opportunity to say, how can we help you use these dollars more efficiently, more effectively? So the strategies that we were using were somewhat effective. We had some pretty good retention numbers, but we knew we weren't doing enough of the right things or enough things to make sure that they are engaged and happy. We were also, we discovered, as I mentioned before, heavily focused on a particular area to be very focused on, well, that's their job, like IT. Anything that's technology, if it plugs in, it could be your TV at home. That's IT, that's my problem. Right? So it's not just one particular group. We all need to be a part of that process. So I'll give you kind of like what the past, what we've been doing with student retention, what we're doing today, and then also some of the things that we're looking to do tomorrow, or we're starting to do today to help with us. So we used to use traditional measures of what we called at-risk students. The student was missing multiple classes. Though maybe they're on academic probation. They withdrew from a semester. They failed a midterm. Well, we were reactively using those data points after the fact, sometimes weeks. That's not helping anyone, right? It was too little, too late to ensure our students were going to stay. A lot of it was manual letters or emails that someone would have to pull out a template, type in somebody's name and send it. And again, it was weeks after the fact. It was not helping anyone. There was also a broad lack of institutionalization. Each area and each group did their own thing. Student retention started doing their own thing over here, and they were successful, at least so they thought. And in some ways they were. Certain faculty members were very engaged with our students and they were successful, but it wasn't across the board. And so if I was a chemistry major, I'd get a different experience than if I was a psychology major or a business major or a management major. And information about student behavior was largely self-maintained at the faculty member level. Their own personal notes that they kept about their engagements as a student to help them through their process. But it may or may not, mostly not, shared broadly. So if a student changes from program major A to program major B, those notes would not follow. And so when the student follows that same pattern again, then the faculty member did not know all this past history, would have to re-engage with the student and start learning over again. And it became disingenuous for the student to say, we've already gone through this. Yes, I've already been to career counseling. Don't you have notes? Right? So we were doing them a disservice. So where are we now? That's Dr. Deborah Lieberman. She's our newest president, first female president. And in 2011, she officially started in 2012, but in 2011 we started working together. And we identified some sort of support services, revitalization focused on students. And I'll cover each one of these. But we created or revitalized a number of our activities and offerings. So the Laverne experience, our name, University of Laverne, what we tried to capitalize on, it wasn't just a branding, it wasn't just a sales mark or something, a trademark. It was what makes Laverne unique. What is it that is our secret sauce that helps our students improve? How much of that is community engagement? How much of that is our small town feel? Not a huge university, private institution, Southern California. What's our secret sauce there? But what we did is we identified certain thematic elements that we pulled through every single year from freshman all the way to senior, tied to specific learning outcome, baccalaureate learning outcomes, or BLOWs as they're often called, pedagogy, and it's woven throughout all 4 years. We had some aspects of this, but many of the thematic elements were only carried through freshman and sophomore year, maybe a little bit in junior, nothing else beyond there. So we started working on those things. We also identified learning communities and goals to support this, curricular and co-curricular activities, community engagement, to ensure that we had a close faculty-to-student relationship in small classes, and that's how the classrooms were specifically defined. Not just happenstance. Oh, great, I only had 15 students show up for this class. Yes, I can engage with them more. No, it was purposeful. The other thing that we did was we formed an Office of Community and Civic Engagement, and it was all about ensuring mutually beneficial and sustainable relationship between us, the university, our student community partners, where our students are most likely going to go back into to make a difference, hopefully leveraging the learning they've gained or the knowledge, and how can we collectively address our region's most important community issues? What are those things that we can do to not only support, but ensure that our students are true global citizens making a positive difference going forward? Very important, bringing theory to practice, but also making sure that it's focused on the faculty to student to community relationship, and how do we support it, and how do we undergird it, and how do we make sure that everything's working well. We also instituted what we call a community hour. And, depending upon semester, we're still trying to find the right spot. Right now, it's noontime. But we ask that no classes occur during that time, and that we have specific engagement with community partners or certain curricular type of quick talks, often with food, because that will get people in for sure. And we ensure that it's common across everything. So if we want to ensure that we get broad understanding and engagement, we try to schedule it during that community hour for all, so students, faculty, and staff can all come together. Office of Diversity and Inclusivity. Some of you may know Beatriz Gonzalez. She's came to us a few years ago. Fantastic lady, great ideas, and she formed this office to ensure that we were being true to our values and one of our pillar concepts that we hold, that we need to increase access, opportunity, equity, diversity, and inclusivity across all aspects of university life. So a lot of the community hour, they're engaging with, have these type of things together, and it's working out very well. In fact, interestingly, I know we're all concerned around the DACA initiative, the things that are coming out from, I'm not going to say my president, but the president that is currently in the office at the United States, that there are things that will directly negatively impact our students. And so through Beatrice's leadership and Devorah's leadership, we've started to hold free legal clinics for students and their families to understand what's what their rights are, what they can do, what they don't have to do, what we will support, and it's all free to them. As a way for them to start thinking about, I don't have to think about, oh, if this happens, what am I going to do? What should I do? They at least are aware of their legal recourse, as well as aware of the resources that we have for them at the University of Laverne to make sure they're successful. On the chance that it happens, hopefully it doesn't. If it does, we have great amount of work and support systems in place for them. So that was something that was also included. We've had a long-standing history of supporting our veterans. We have 2 military bases that we do specific programming for. It's going on its 48th year of providing veteran student success. We have a behavioral and intervention team. We call it the BIT team. Basically, it's made up of student affairs, counseling, health services, campus safety, psychological services, IT if necessary, and just engage with the students to if there's a problem in the classroom or in the dorm or on campus, things that are around behavior so that we can address with them directly so it does not negatively impact their ability to continue with their education, but that they know they have support systems available to them and that it's not just, I'm acting out because I'm so stressed out. Well, we can help with that. My family's getting a divorce and I just don't know what to do and I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford it. We can help with that. It's more about giving them appropriate support structures so students just have to really understand that we have mechanisms for them. We have things to help them. Well, Dean Student Affairs, I would say it's about 7 people at this point. But it's ad hoc for all the campuses, but ad hoc. So if necessary, they'll pull in additional people depending upon where it may have happened. So the director of residential life may or may not be involved if it didn't happen in the residence hall or if their expertise is not needed. But then as necessary, they pull them in. And it's an adjudication process. That's what we use Amaxiate for. But it's also to provide a single pane of glass to understand what the student's going through and what impacts may be having on their curriculum and their ability to successfully complete a class or get good grades. We also have been doing this for many, many years. We call it SOAR. Think of it like a bird soaring, right? So it's a summer opportunity for advising and registration, and it's for students and parents to come to Laverne ahead of the fall semester and engage with us and learn about who's Laverne, what do we do, what's our secret sauce, right? Why they want to continue here, but what are the curriculum that they can offer? What are the co-curricular activities? What does community and civic engagement look like? What does IT look like? All important, how much Wi-Fi do I have? Can I stream my, videos? Can I play my games? What's it going to look like? So we have all of these booths and information, and then we have guided lectures from different areas so that the students and parents can ask all their questions together. They can pre-register. They can download the app. They can get training. We can show them computer labs, anything and everything to help them be successful. So when they step into the classroom on the first day of fall semester of their first year, they're not just so overwhelmed with logistic concerns. It's more about how can I focus on my learning. So this is our student retention trend, 2011 when we started, and I'll just throw in some numbers here. So from 2011 when we kicked off these initiatives, we saw an uptick for freshmen, which is the left-hand side, by 2%. Then it kind of leveled off, but it didn't go down. Also for sophomores, we saw a 5% increase in retention for students, and then it pretty much stayed the same. And then for juniors, we saw a 3% increase. Okay, that's good. It hasn't continued up as much as we'd like. We've had a number of other things like the Cal State system, UC systems offering many of the programs that we do, other institutions offering broader, less expensive, more expansive online presence. So we're continuing to learn our lesson here, but these percentages show, and the lack of decline at the end show that we believe some of these things are working. So how can we continue to build on this success, right? So taking this trend only in 2011, that 2% uptick, keeping that student from 2011 to 2012, that was about $120,000 to our bottom line increase. Well, across 4 years, that's almost $500,000. If we retained those 2% of students across all 4 years, that's $500,000 that we would not have walking out the door. So it's very real money. It's very important for us. And all things aside, we are an institution. Even though we're nonprofit, we still have to keep the lights on. We still have to make sure the students are well taken care of. We have to ensure we're somewhat profitable to make sure we can continue to serve the students. But at the end of the day, it's all about how can we ensure the students are successful. Even if that's, 85, 95%. Some percentage of our students are still leaving and they're not fulfilling their educational dreams with us. We need to fix that. So, we created an enhanced portfolio of student behavior with aspects, and we revisit those aspects. Not just, oh, they failed a midterm. It's 2 quizzes they failed, and then we have to engage with them. It's dynamic. It's multivariate. And we're starting to, semi-proactively work with identified at-risk students. That's what we have been doing. But again, it's mostly reactive. We try to get there as soon as possible. There's some sharing, but how can we do better in this arena? We created Banner Workflow. We used Banner Workflow to watch for a variety of things. Here are just a couple of them. Poor attendance. That has an asterisk, so I'll cover that in a minute. Poor grade on quizzes, tests, midterms. It sends an email to the student, the faculty, the advisor, all. And we're piloting a mobile alert on the mobile device to pop up and say, Sammy missed class today. You need to engage with them. The challenge that we have is much of that is still manually tracked. So our faculty members or our student staff advisors have their own systems that they use, and it's not necessarily in Banner. So these things, if they don't exist in Banner, the workflow's never going to fire. You can, yep. So now we're working quite closely with faculty and staff to say, here's how we can help you get that information into Banner, because it shouldn't be conceived of as, oh, this is just another thing I have to do at the end of the workday. It's about, this will ensure that the student will have full visibility and will be able to interact and proactively connect with the student much more quickly than a couple weeks after the fact. Still, it's largely ad hoc, faculty dependent, but we have many and varied face-to-face interactive meetings with and checkups with students who are deemed at risk, however we define that at risk. And we partner students not only with an advisor, right, whether that's a faculty or staff, but we connect them with clubs and organizations and someone else, whether or not they're in the residence hall or based upon interest. We partner them, and because we found that if we can engage them in those co-curricular activities and they know someone, then they trust someone, they're more likely to show up to class, which means they're more likely to stay and study, so on and so forth. Of course, we asked ourselves, what can I change in my own work to make the students feel that they matter even more? We try to share and bring speakers who talk about, I was a first-generation student, and I made it. I'm a successful CEO. This is what I did. This is how I did it. It's important for you to stay in school. And then what was one of the key things that we've learned well is we need to ensure that we are defining student success differently for every student. Every student's experience is different. Their own specific needs are different. And so how can we engage on a one-on-one basis with that student to understand what they need to make them be more successful? We can't use the one-size-fits-all anymore. It can't work. We created a class roster. This was based upon faculty input to IT. We created a class roster with students' pictures and their names, and so the faculty member could go into Banner and just pull up that and say, oh, hi Susie, hi Maria, how are you? Nice to see you again. Uh-oh, Jimmy, he's late. Mark that down, right? And so you at least know your students, they know you're watching and you're engaged with them. Really simple, but it was a huge hit. We're also starting to use or continuing to use telepresence, Cisco telepresence, or video conferencing. And we are enhancing our distance learning using telepresence. So we may have a subject matter expert at our Laverne campus. and we may be broadcasting out to our regional campuses, maybe 2 or 3, or students may be at home and they're all pulled in together and they're going to have the same immersive experience together. We may also bring in a subject matter expert. Imagine you're an art history student and we have a connection to the Louvre in Paris, France, and someone is there walking around with you and explaining, okay, here's the Mona Lisa and this is what it looks like, this is where it is. It's interactive, it's immersive, and it's engaging for students who may never have been able to go or might not ever have thought about going. Other thing that we're using, these are 3 different models that we have, depending upon the need, but we're using technology to enable student advising, counseling, mentoring, career services. So the one on the far right, we have in our central services for students, and we kind of made it easy. It's actually touch button, and if somebody wants financial aid, they pick up the phone, push the financial aid button. Somebody picks up the phone, it's face-to-face video chat. It's not just, they just see them on that, you can talk to them, and we do that, we're experimenting that for the other areas. Now it's completely dependent upon, somebody needs to be at that phone if somebody calls you, and you need to be, ready to be on video, right? We also are using the ability to connect with professors. Some of our professors are using these DX80s on the left, or the DX90 in the middle, at their desk. So if they're office hours and the student's at home, they don't need to drive to campus. Just launch WebEx, connect with them. It's video chat, it's immersive, we can talk, we can see what's going on, we can share documents, and we can move on. And so I don't feel the need that I'm missing out on that interaction with a student, but I can ensure that I am giving them exactly what they need. Again, last piece on telepresence, we're using it for coaching, mentoring, but also for mock job interviews. So we'll have our students in an internship type of opportunity or an opportunity to meet with other employers to have an experience of a job interview, of a panel of individuals looking at you and asking you complex questions. How do you respond? What do you say? You get to see the way they react on the screen, and then you can give them feedback and say, Susie, you did a fantastic job. Next time I'd work on you not being so fidgeting in your chair. Make sure you write down some question, whatever that may be. But it's more immersive, it's more engaging. It's just another way that we're trying to leverage technology to help our students. All right, so where do we think we're going with all this stuff? This is a lot of blah, 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 but I won't kill you death by PowerPoint here. So we try to make sure that we have ongoing substantive discussions about addressing what are those at-risk characteristics. They should be multivariate and based upon factors for each student. How do we keep them on target? And we don't wait until the midterm was failed. We don't wait until 3 classes were done. We actively engage with them as soon as we're aware of one data blip, right? And then we continue to proactively work with them to address patterns using data to the betterment for both of us, for them and us. One of the things that we're currently looking at is Banner XE, so that's Banner 9. The next version of Banner available, and it has the easy way for faculty to take roll. One of the challenges we have is we're not mandated to take roll, so most don't. And then when you're asked, well, how did we know Johnny wasn't doing well? It was, oh, I thought that was Johnny. That's not Johnny? Oh, I'm sorry, They didn't even know their student, right? So this would be one way that we can keep track. They can click, they can take roll. They click on this take roll button, and then they get a visual. They can mark a check mark if they're there, or we can have them automatically all check and say everybody's there, and all they do is uncheck who's not there. You have the ability to add a note and say, oh, yeah, missed class, he let me know ahead of time this is permissible. So it doesn't count against them. Easy to track, and then we can base our data attributes on that, kick off a workflow. Somebody call this person, send them a text, something to that degree. We are in the process of degree work, so course articulation from other transfer institutions into our program, as well as I'm coming in as a freshman who's interested in chemistry. Well, after I finished my first semester, chemistry is neat and everything, but it's not my bag. I don't really like it. So what could I do? What happens if I change to philosophy or change to psychology? The student and the advisor would see exactly what they're doing. They can do what-if calculations and scenarios of, what if I change my major? What if I take 3 extra classes in summer? What if I take the summer off? What if I can't come to fall? What if I start again in winter? All of that will have a direct impact on what they can do. Right now, we use banner course articulation. It works well, but not this well. And it's not mobile ready. It's not mobile friendly. So the ability for our advisors who are out in the classroom, out in the field, at home, advising students, they can pull up and see the same view that our students are seeing. And say, okay, Johnny, I saw that you wanted to change to psychology. Let's talk a little bit about that. You're already in your 3rd year of business administration. Do you really want to do that? Do you see how many extra things you're going to have to take? So on and so forth, the conversation goes. So that is due for us fall 2018 in full production. So we're testing it now, installing it, implementing it. One of the interesting things for us, because we have multiple campuses in the different regions, is we have a few general education requirements. And so it's giving us a little bit of difficulty in leveraging it to the best of its ability, but it gives us an opportunity to look at policies and procedures and say, does this work? Maybe it doesn't work anymore. Another thing that we're looking at, actually doing a proof of concept now, is an advisor scheduling software. It connects with Outlook, Office 365. It has the ability for students to book based upon times you as the faculty member say, I'm available, or the student may make a request of certain times and say, yes, I am, or not. You can have designated talk around, what is this about? What do we need to go over? So maybe you can prep. It can share via social media, and it will also send both you as the faculty member, staff, or the student a text message. Don't forget, go see Susie at this time, or this is your appointment time, and it's fully mobile and fully integrated. So that's something that we are testing now to use for our advisors, because they're using Outlook today and it's working, but they're not easily able to share across multiple advisors, and everybody's looking at other calendars, so they're calling the departmental assistant, does Susie have time at this time? Everybody can see the same thing based upon permissions. Okay, good, it did turn out. These are screenshots from Ellucian Analytics. So this is where we're piloting now to look at our data. This is not our data right now, this is Ellucian's data, but it does speak to our ability to dig deeper. You can go into specific grades. This is the grade distribution to say, okay, in fall 2015-16, how many A's, what percentage did I give out, B's, C's, D's, and then you can drill down based upon instructor, based upon class, program, by a specific grade. Is someone an easy grader? Is someone a difficult grader? Are we giving too many of this type of thing a grade? How many people are withdrawing from Chem 101 in the first semester? What can we do about that? How do we fix that? Maybe it needs to be a Chem 101 A and B, or maybe there needs to be a placement test, right? Same type of thing. Another one of these is instructional load. So how many contact hours does this instructor have? You can drill down by instructor, you can drill down by academic year, you can say, this professor is overworked. We need to make sure that this professor has some leave time because they're doing too many things too much. Or conversely, we need to work with this faculty member to see how can we get them further engaged, because these are areas that maybe we can need some additional assistance. This is a little bit of an eye chart, so I don't expect you to read it, but it's more about the idea is, at what point, class ratio, student to faculty ratio, are my students dropping out? Is it the magic number 16? That's my highest percentage. 23% of my students are dropping out when I have 16 students in a class to one faculty member. But at 17, it goes down. 18 stays about the same. Oh, at 21, it seems to hit a sweet spot. But interestingly, the larger the number of classmates you have, the less likely I am to drop. Interesting, right? Again, the point of something like this is to look at your data, slice and dice it how you want, and then ask questions. And based upon those questions, it's going to make you ask even more questions and have dialogue. It's not about finding, oh, this person is not doing enough, this person's doing too much. More, it's about, what does our data tell us that we need to look at that we're not even aware is there? This happens to be average class size by instructor count. How many lectures, labs do we have? Again, I just gave you some screenshots here. This is another instructional load, but total number of instructors above full-time, below full-time, at full-time, and then you can drill down by individual instructor number or person, and how many contact hours do they have. So analytics, of course, our ability to look at our data, we have lots and lots and lots of questions, lots. Here are just a few. We really want to be able to define what courses, what programs are predictive of student success. How can we say if somebody takes Math 101 in the first semester of their first year with us, they're more successful because of X, Y, and Z? Operationalize our data so that not only do we learn from what our students in the past have done or had to endure, rather, how can we use that to inform how to ensure future student success for students based upon these attributes or as a whole? When can we or when should we engage with each of our students to maximize their individualized chance of success? Individual game now. It's no longer, I can group these 3 students together and they're all going to treat the same, they're going to have the same outcome. They're not. And how can we effectively use not only descriptive, so backward-facing looking data, but predictive and maybe even prescriptive, the ability to look at our data and say, instead of reactively having to add 3 more chem labs 3 weeks into the term because we're overburdened, if I've had to do that based upon enrollment trajectory, let's automatically add those 3 so that students can register for them before classes start. We do that now, but it's a gut check. The registrar says, oh, I seem to remember that last year we had to have, I added extra 3 chem labs. Oh, let's just add 4 now. What's that based on? Well, I just remember last year that's what we had to do. We want to use data to do that. Okay, enough of the blah blah. So, some key takeaways, hopefully, that you got from this was it's important to take a holistic institutional approach. It's not just one specific area, one specific group to do this. Allow the ideas to organically emerge. Use theory to inform practice. Look at the literature, stand on the shoulders that went before us, and understand what's working and what doesn't work well, and what can we do. There's no one and done. It takes a continual care and focus on individual student needs and what they need at different points to adjust. Start small. Maybe identify one program, one area, one course. Celebrate that success, generate buzz, rinse and repeat. Go ahead, do it again. Try it again and see if you can expand it. This sounds strange. Let change happen. We know, at least for us, change is sometimes a difficult value proposition. So how do we allow that to happen organically, but with deliberate intent? There's no silver bullet. You literally increase student retention one time, every single student. Now, this pains me to say this, but as a technologist, technology is a tool, and there are many wonderful things, and it will help you to get to where you need to go. But it's not a panacea. You can't expect to install something and all of your problems will go away. It's just not going to happen. And student retention, it's all of our job. It's each one of us to take care and consideration. I, as a technologist, I'm constantly thinking about what are the technology that I need to make sure is on campus to help them, whether it's Wi-Fi, that's clear, mobile apps, or how can I engage with faculty members and listen to them and say, what is it that's working well for you in your classroom, and what do you think you need more of or less of? What can we do together? Okay, that's everything. So thank you very much. It was a lot, I know. Thank you. Here are all my sources. It's legit. Any questions for me? Yes. Yes. So we try our best to have a schedule, and so all students are put to, as much as possible, working with faculty members, to exclude that from regular programming, so that even if it's at 12:30 I can engage and only until 1 or whatever the case may be, we have an hour and it's changed based upon semester. We haven't gotten to the point where it's always the same across every term. It just is, it's impossible for us at this point. But Office of Community and Civic Engagement works with maybe Office of Diversity and Inclusivity, or maybe the Dean of Students, or maybe with technology over a specific program to talk about specific topics during that time. As a group, And it's open to all faculty, staff, and students, and we found, of course, that if you have food, you're much more likely to have people show up. It's magic the way that it works in academia, but if we have some food, we're more likely to have somebody come by, and it's worked very well for us. And sometimes it's very rigid in terms of programming, other times it's, we're going to talk about this topic. What's on your mind today around X?
And it's just 1 hour.
Right now, it's just 1 hour. We have other things that occur at night and that are splattered throughout, but we found students who have already had a full day of studying and engagement are not necessarily going to stay at 6 or 7 o'clock, especially if they're not on campus. So they said, I'm just going to go home. So having it in the middle of the day made it easier for them to engage on a regular cadence. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you use another data sources for like social media for analysis or business intelligence?
Our Office of Strategic Communications has been looking at a product called Hootsuite, H-O-O-T Suite. And what it does is it aggregates all of these different data feeds, and you can see trending and where things are going and what happens. They're not actively using it at this point. They're doing a proof of concept to see to what degree can they. Their first challenge was to try to get all of those University of La Verne owned social media ones that clubs and organizations started to say, that's not yours, it's the club of this at the University of La Verne, but it's not the University of La Verne Greek Society. So that was the first step that we had to use. But Hootsuite is something that they're looking at to aggregate that data and then inform, here are some dead hours. We're not communicating this. Or we tend to communicate too much during this time, not enough during this time.
Todd, congratulations. Yes. It's really a holistic program in University of La Verne. A bit about the huge investment that you have to do in University of La Verne in technology. How many years are you investing at this kind of millions of dollars?
No, we don't have that kind of budget, thankfully. So what we do is we look for partnership opportunities. We look for opportunities to work with other learned individuals, other companies. Cisco Systems, for example, when we looked at our telepresence, we were starting to just go down the path. Our entire network backbone is Cisco. We deliberately made that choice about 5 years ago. We were a mixture before. We finally were standardized on Cisco in the back end, all the network switches, routers, and stuff. And that enabled us to start looking beyond and say, well, Cisco's coming out with this new thing. I wonder what that new thing is, and would they be interested in giving us a proof of concept for free? So we would start having those conversations with those salespeople, talking with them on and off and saying, we'd really like to do this. Once you keep bugging them enough, they take you seriously. And so we then got one telepresence unit that we installed in IT. Then we started using it. We made the commitment we would use it for every single appropriate meeting, job interview, and we would ask certain faculty to come and teach small form factor classes from our room as a model, as a test. Cisco liked that. And so then we continued to work with them in that way, and then we started working with them to say, well, if we have one out at a regional campus, how can we get a person who's learned in a specific field from there, transmitting back to the La Verne campus, and just continuing that dialogue has enabled us to have the ability to do proof of concepts that did not cost much, if anything. Well, we don't have much of a budget at all. A matter of, for us, just ensuring that we're having that regular dialogue and making that value proposition to the vendor. Sometimes they're open to it. Other times they think, you've only got 8,500 students. I can go over and talk to Caltech and, they've got 25,000 students. So, no. But it's worked well for us in the past. Any other questions? Thoughts? Lots of thoughts. Hi.
Hi. I wonder if you have a specific research department for make all of this? A research department.
A research department to make this all days? No, that's me.
Just you?
No, it's me. I'm the research department. I had to do my own research. However, I partnered with our institutional research department who creates our fact book. I partnered with our student academic advising, our vice provost, Beatriz Gonzalez. I partnered with our president to make sure all the facts were correct and that it had the regular, proper cadence of information. But no, I had to put this together myself. I wish I had a research department that could help me with something like this. That's why I ensured, as a doctoral student one time, I remember you always had to cite everything, so everything's at the end. It's all there. Any other questions? Yes. Sure. So it's our summer opportunity for advancement and advanced registration. It's a one-time fair-like event over one day, and we've toyed with and we've done with in the past where they come half day on one day, spend the night in the residence hall. It's a whole immersive experience. So of those students that are interested, it's an event. And we have a lot of people with lectures, but we have movies and we have them the opportunity to come and connect. But what's most important is that we have all the various student-facing and maybe not directly student-facing like IT departments come and talk with the students. Showcase what we're doing, how we can help them, what are they engaging with, and it's been a great success. And the students, they're less nervous. They're more nervous about the first day, who's going to be my friend, and I don't look strange, right? But
including parents?
Parents, absolutely, yeah. So parents are they ask the most questions. They want to know about campus safety. They want to know about, well, do you have blue lights on campus? How safe is your campus? How far do they have to walk from the parking area to their class? How can you have all their classes in this one building? All those things. So we're able to cover all of those things, walk them around campus so they can see where stuff is, and it's helped greatly.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Hi.
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned that you are creating global citizens in Laverne University. I'm wondering, could you tell us, how are you doing this?
So what we try to do is make sure that the curriculum is relevant and will enable our students to go out into the world to make a difference. And so we have business leaders from various industries coming in and speaking at specific times around specific topics. So we try to reinforce the learning, not just from an academic, read these 3 books and let's talk about it, to someone on the stage talking about, this is what I did to be successful. Bachelor's degree was absolutely critical to my success. However, you may not have thought about this. Consider these areas. Look at this, that, the other. And so we don't have a specific global business program like you all do here, but we do actually invite global folks to come and talk about how they were successful, what they did, and how does that relate to the curriculum that they can take, the students can take out of it to take action. So we really try to focus on theory to practice. Practical application. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Well, hopefully you all got something out of it and this was interesting to you. You already have a copy of it. If you have questions for me afterward or via email, I'm available. And I very much appreciated the opportunity to come and talk to you today. And again, thank you very much.
Well, we appreciate a lot of your lecture. I'm pretty sure most of us took a lot of notes in order to implement this strategy on behalf of our students and, of course, our institution. So I'm going to ask Professor Jessica Ibarra, our Dean of the Campus, to join us to the center to give you a certificate of appreciation. Could you please, Todd and Marco Peña, also join us to the introduction? It's a certificate of participation to Dr. Todd Britton for his participation as a speaker at the conference Student Success and Retention Strategies, Practical Advice and Best Practice Recommendation, held as part of the celebration of the 56th anniversary of CETYS University. Thank you very much and welcome to our campus. Thank you, everybody. Tomorrow we will have a special event on Tijuana campus, so thank you for being here, and we encourage you to implement all these strategies in each campus and each institution you represent. Thank you. Have a good day. We have a lot of homework to do.